A German soldier crouches in the rubble of a Stalingrad apartment block, winter of 1942. His MP40 has just jammed for the second time that hour, the magazine caked in ice and grit. Beside a dead Soviet conscript lies a PPSh-41, drum magazine still half full. He picks it up. By the end of the war, so many German soldiers had made that same choice that the Wehrmacht printed official manuals for a rifle it never designed. These are two of the most iconic submachine guns of World War II, weapons that defined the Eastern Front and became symbols of the armies that carried them: the German MP40 and the Soviet PPSh-41. One was precision engineered, the other was built in automobile factories. One fired at a controlled 500 rounds per minute. The other screamed at nearly double that. So which one was actually better? Let's start with origins, because how each weapon came to exist tells you a lot about the philosophy behind it. The MP40 was designed in 1938 by Heinrich Vollmer, though the Allies stubbornly called it the Schmeisser throughout the war. Hugo Schmeisser was a legendary firearms designer who had created the MP18, the first mass-produced submachine gun, back in 1917. He had nothing to do with the MP40's design, though. He held a patent on the magazine, and that was it. The name stuck anyway. One of those historical errors that just refuses to die. What made the MP40 stand out wasn't its firepower. It was how it was built. Vollmer pioneered the use of stamped metal parts and synthetic materials instead of expensive machined components. This was a weapon designed for industrial-scale warfare, robust enough to survive combat, while simple enough to roll off production lines. 3 primary factories handled manufacturing: Irma Werke, Heinel and Steyr. Between 1940 and 1945, they produced roughly 1.1 million units, each costing about 57 Reichsmarks. The PPSh-41 has a different origin story, one born from national catastrophe. 2 of them, actually. The first was the Winter War against Finland, from November 1939 to March 1940. Finnish soldiers armed with the Suomi KP-31 submachine gun, designed by Aimo Lahti, cut through Soviet forces in close-quarter forest fighting. The Soviets took notice. They needed a submachine gun that could be produced in massive quantities and put into the hands of entire infantry companies, not just specialized platoons. The second catastrophe was the German invasion of 1941. Operation Barbarossa cost the Soviets enormous quantities of small arms and, critically, much of their engineering capability. They needed a weapon simpler and cheaper than the existing PPD-40, which took nearly 14 hours to manufacture per unit. Georgy Shpagin answered the call. His PPSh-41 prototype featured a gas compensator that noticeably improved shot grouping over the PPD. The Red Army adopted it on December 21, 1940, and production began in the fall of 1941. Here's where the numbers get staggering. The PPSh-41 consisted of just 87 parts and could be assembled in as little as 5.5 hours. Workers cut Mosin Nagant rifle barrels in half, converting each half into a PPSh-41 barrel. Automobile factories with zero firearms experience were retooled to produce them. By spring 1942, Soviet factories were churning out over 3,000 PPSh-41s every single day. By war's end, approximately 6 million had been manufactured. 6 million versus 1.1 million. That ratio alone tells a story. Now let's talk about what these weapons actually did in a soldier's hands. The MP40 fired the 9 by 19mm parabellum cartridge at a muzzle velocity of 400 meters per second, with a cyclic rate of 500 to 550 rounds per minute. It fed from a 32-round detachable box magazine. The weapon weighed about 4 kilograms and featured something genuinely new for its time: a forward-folding metal stock, the first on any submachine gun. This made it compact and easy to carry in vehicles and tight spaces. Its effective range sat between 100 and 200 meters. The PPSh-41 fired the 7.62 by 25mm Tokarev round at 488 meters per second, noticeably faster than the MP40. Its cyclic rate was around 1,000 rounds per minute, sometimes measured even higher, roughly double the German weapon. It could accept either a 35-round box magazine or a massive 71-round drum. Empty, it weighed 3.64 kilograms, slightly lighter than the MP40. Those numbers create a fascinating contrast. The MP40 was measured, deliberate, controllable on paper. The PPSh-41 was a fire hose. And yet, here's something that surprises people. Despite that blistering rate of fire, the PPSh-41 was remarkably controllable in practice. Its wooden stock gave it a genuine edge in stability compared to the MP40's metal frame soldiers, who used both weapons in the field, consistently pointed to the wooden stock as steadier against the shoulder and easier to shoot accurately in bursts. The MP40's folding metal stock, while innovative, was sometimes insufficiently durable for hard combat, and the weapon had a more fundamental problem: its magazine. The double-column, single-feed design created friction that caused feed failures. Soldiers who gripped the magazine as a handhold, a completely natural instinct, could misalign the cartridge feed entirely. Both the Thompson and the Italian Beretta had solved this with superior double-stack, double-feed magazines. The MP40 never did. The PPSh-41 had its own problems. Those loose tolerances that made it so easy to manufacture and so reliable in cold weather meant the parts rattled audibly when the weapon was shaken. Drop a PPSh from even a small height and it could fire spontaneously. Early models lacked a semi-automatic setting, so once you pulled the trigger, it kept firing until the magazine ran dry. And those iconic drum magazines, they were a headache. Each drum weighed nearly 2 kilograms, was difficult to load, and had a tendency to misfeed after roughly 60 rounds. There was also the issue of night combat. The PPSh produced multiple distinctive muzzle flashes that gave away a shooter's position instantly. But here is perhaps the most telling fact in this entire comparison. German soldiers, fighting for an army that prided itself on engineering excellence, routinely abandoned their MP40s and picked up Soviet PPSh-41s from the battlefield. This wasn't just anecdotal. The Wehrmacht officially adopted captured PPSh-41s, designating unconverted models as the MP717R and supplying them with compatible 7.63 by 25mm Mauser ammunition. About 10,000 captured PPSh-41s were even rechambered to accept standard German 9mm rounds, receiving the designation MP41R. The Wehrmacht printed and distributed German-language manuals for the weapon. The PPSh-41 became the second most used submachine gun by German forces in the entire war. Think about that. The reason was straightforward. On the Eastern Front, where temperatures plunged far below zero and mud and snow were constants, the MP40's tighter tolerances worked against it. The PPSh-41's loose construction meant dirt, ice and grime passed through without jamming the mechanism. The Soviets also employed their submachine guns differently than the Germans. The Wehrmacht assigned MP40 only to specialized platoons. The Soviets armed entire companies with PPSh-41s. By mid-1942, about 6% of a Soviet infantry battalion carried submachine guns. By early 1944, that number hit 25%, one of the highest ratios of any military on Earth. By war's end, over half of Soviet infantrymen carried the PPSh-41. In the rubble-choked streets of Stalingrad and the house-to-house fighting during the Battle of Berlin, that wall of automatic fire proved devastating. So, which was truly better? The honest answer is that each weapon perfectly reflected the army that made it. The MP40 was refined, controlled, and precise, ideal for a military doctrine built around small unit tactics and professional soldiers. The PPSh-41 was crude, overwhelming, and practically indestructible, perfect for a nation fighting a total war of survival that needed to arm millions of conscripts as fast as humanly possible. But if you forced a choice, if you dropped a soldier onto the Eastern Front in 1943 and told him to pick one, the evidence suggests he'd grab the PPSh-41. The Germans themselves proved that with their actions. And in war, what soldiers actually choose when their lives depend on it tells you more than any specification sheet ever could.